And welcome to another episode of the Sovah Says podcast, a special Scouting After Hours edition. So, another one of these. We are looking tonight at Miami Hurricane rusher Rueben Bain Jr. The guy's basically been the talk of most draft circles for about second half of the year and definitely through bowl season and into that national championship game. I got to think that other than Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, Rueben Bain Jr. has really been the player to start the most conversations, definitely have the most buzz around him. We are going to start tonight's show, as we typically do on one of these, where we will look at how we start to build a player profile, or how I start to build a player profile, including how we break down accolades and look at their statistical profile over the course of their career in college. And we'll get into a little bit of a highlight reel. We'll take some time to watch one of these YouTube highlights of all his great plays from the 2025 season, and then get a little bit more the nitty gritty and into the weeds with some coaching film, and really kind of take our time to look at some of these really standout plays. There's going to be a play for Bengals fans anyway that they're going to recognize from a couple years ago, and it went viral. About a month ago or during the playoff run, as people started to really analyze this and share some of these plays from Bain Jr. over the course of the season. And there's going to be a play I'm going to show you if you haven't seen it already that's going to remind you of one of the most freakish things we've ever seen DJ Reader do while he was a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's coming up. So some statistics, a lot of highlights, and then we'll break down some coaches' film. So let's get started here with Rueben Bain Jr. as we start to look at how we build this profile. So what I end up doing is building a database, starting with the players, the underclassmen that declare, and then we sort of move into various these built through the Senior Bowl rosters. And as you'll see here, these are some of the players that have declared already. We'll highlight Rueben Bain Jr. We're going to walk down this line right here. The defensive lineman, really technically an edge, but what you're looking at is a player with position versatility that can play, that they have. And you'll see from some of the tape that we showed tonight, they lined him up inside at times and used some of his power and quickness to rush from the interior. So he is a player that, it's hard to put a label on as far as a position. He's technically an edge. He had the most of his rushes and most of his snaps on defense come from the edge. But again, he is a player with tons of upside rushing from the interior. So Miami, Florida, born in 2004, local Miami kid, coming out as a junior. So height and weight, I tend to weight, never go by what the profiles say on the college web pages. The SIDs at most universities are fudging the numbers, as you saw with Diego Pavia, who was listed at 6 foot and then goes to the Senior Bowl and is looking more like 5'9", 5'8.5". So really try to stay away so that I'm not doing double and triple work on these, and wait for something official to come out of Indy. And you're going to get about 220 plus prospects invited to combine. They released their list earlier this week, so we'll be working on that over the weekend to make sure that we're prepared. I'm prepared. The database is ready to go for combine weekend, and I'll do some shows each night after the combine. We'll talk about some of the things we've seen on the field. I can relay some of my experience. I worked for the NFL for 15 years, veteran of 12 NFL scouting combines, been on the field for a good portion of those. So I've had conversations with, with personnel people and scouts and stuff throughout that. And have learned to sort of get a feel for what they're talking about, what they're putting emphasis on, and the sort of things they look at as they watch the workouts on the field. So height and weight for Rueben Bain, as we said, we'll wait. So let's start to input some of these stats. Now, for Rueben Bain Jr., wow, what a the 2025 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, right? So we were looking at a guy that put together a 30 tackle. And I'd like to thank everyone right now that is live with us in the stream. Appreciate you guys. Feel free to comment, give it a like if you like what you're seeing. If you're not a subscriber, would love to have you subscribe if you're enjoying this Bengals content, some of this draft content. This channel is going to go year round. And if you check some of the previous videos, there's celebrity interviews from the world of wrestling and sports and entertainment. So check those out if you guys are looking for something new. So a 30 tackle season with 9.5 sacks. So that's a really good number for him. A forced fumble and an INT. So right away, those are numbers right there. And with the impact that he had, I'm sure as we start to get deeper into those and look at things like pressures and pressure rate, the advanced analytics are really going to stand out for a guy like Rueben Bain Jr. As we go a little deeper into his career at Miami in 2024, not as productive as of a year as maybe you'd hope for. Did play in only 9 games, so obviously, less reps. Did finish the season with 23 tackles, 3.5 sacks. No T, and we got some renegade characters in here. Get rid of these guys. 3.5 sacks. No pass defenses or anything like that, but did have 5.5 TF tackles. And let's just put what he had here, tackles for loss. So 15.5 tackles for loss as a senior. So again, as a junior in 2025. Now again, the production he had this year, playing in 16 games, obviously that's where you get in an All-American season. Those types of numbers and that opportunity, that's going to be a big deal for a guy like him. And we go back to his freshman year, 13 games. So, obviously less. There wasn't a playoff run as deep as there was this year in his senior year. So only 13 games. Need to spell that better. But that's considered a complete season. And and as a freshman, for him to come in, you're looking at a 44 tackle season. With 12.5 tackles for loss. So a guy that's consistently in the backfield. And here's a good number for a freshman, 7.5 sacks. Forced fumbles that year, no interceptions. I mean, as a defensive end, I don't expect things like that. But did have 3 forced fumbles, and that's another good number. Whether or not those were on quarterbacks or running backs in the run game, you'll see he's not just an edge rusher. He's not just a pass rusher, I should say. He can really play the run well. And let's adjust these tackle number. This tackle number is, those are his solos. So let's go total. And that is 54. So honestly, for the 2 seasons, his freshman and junior year, where he played a complete season, the numbers are fairly similar. I mean, a couple more sacks, but also 3 more games in 2025. So really looking at a guy that when he's on the field is productive. If you go back to making this about the Bengals here for a second, if you go back to last year when they drafted Shamar Stewart, an edge rusher, in the first round, there wasn't those production numbers. Probably one of the lowest production profiles I've ever seen. 3 years in a row with a sack and a half in each year. Just sort of as you watch the tape to kind of understand. Sure, he was disruptive at times and found his way into the backfield. He was just really sort of an agent of chaos. He just wasn't a finisher. What Rueben Bain Jr. is both. And the most important thing is he's a finisher. And we'll, as we take a look at some of these highlights in a second and break down the film, you'll see what I mean. He's not just getting into the backfield to flush the quarterback out of the pocket. He's really making it, finishing things off when he gets back there, whether it's a running back tackling for a loss, stringing something out. We'll take a look at that here in a second. All right, so let's continue just to quickly go down his profile. So it's 2022. Don't need anything there. So All-American Awards. We are looking at a 2025 All-American. And let's see if how many. I'm guessing he just had the one all-conference. Let's take a look here at what it says here. He was a freshman All-American, 2025 team captain. So remember that because we will. He was an honorable mention All ACC in 2024. And first team All ACC in 2025. All right. Let's continue. So things we want to, awards, any postseason awards here. Let's take a look. Other than any defensive player of the year type awards. Did win the 2025 10 Hendricks Award as the top defensive end. So 2025 Ted Hendricks Award. Oh. Oh, he is not the tread. He is the tip. So recognized 20, just an all-around great season in 2025. And, obviously those postseason awards, those don't even count. He did during that playoff run. So enough of an impact made during the regular season for him to be called that. Captain did say that he was a captain this year. Was involved to the Senior Bowl, but did not compete or did not decided to take the Senior Bowl week off after um, the run in the national championship game. Did accept the invite, but did not work out. Combine invite, he did. We will discuss this scouting combine. So these will eventually be a lot of notes from the scouting combine and his pro day. We'll take a look at some film notes. Finally, after the um, pro days and scouting combines and all those things to test his athleticism, that's when the RAS scores will drop. Pro player comparison. So I had a really, I've had a really um, tough time trying to find a pro because when he's out on the edge, maybe he looks like one thing, and when he's out on the edge, he's sort of like a more compact Calais Campbell. And then when he rushes from the inside, he sort of has some Geno Atkins with maybe a little more juice. But he just kind of feels like he's kind of a superhero to me. So he kind of reminds me of Ben Grimm, the Thing. He's just compact, strong. He has the short arms, and all the discourse through draft season is going to be, what about these short arms? How important is arm length? We saw in the Super Bowl that maybe arm length for an offensive lineman, especially a left tackle, may be something that's more important for those guys. Now, Bengals legend Willie Anderson said, "Hey, there's really not much. There's not much to talk about in terms of arm length. It just means you have more time before you strike. You're able to, if you have long arms, you're able to act maybe a little slower and get your arms out there. But it's not really. There's plenty of examples of guys with shorter arms being, dominant pros. However, on the defensive side, the arm length is going to be for his defensive end position is going to be talked about, and based on his film and what we're watching on the field, it's going to be talked about, but it's going to be a short conversation. It really hasn't hampered him at all, if any. So his pro player comparison is a little bit incomplete right now because it's a little bit of like it just kind of depends where he lines up, and it's kind of a he's got a couple of players. There's not one guy. He's very unique in that way, and there's not typically you watch somebody and you're like, wow, when they play. For example, we watched Ohio State safety Caleb Downs a couple weeks ago, and to me, although their height and their statures are different, their playing styles are identical. Caleb Downs reminds me of Bob Sanders, former Defensive Player of the Year, safety for the Colts, a guy that could also play deep, but he was maybe a little more effective, closer to the line of scrimmage in the box. But being that cover two robber and being a guy that could go sideline, that could come up blitz, play the run game. That's who Caleb Downs reminds me of. Even if the size things aren't identical, from a playing style standpoint, that's who he is to me. So for Rueben Bain Jr., I see some Calais Campbell in there. I think maybe that's, for me, the closest thing. And if you're talking about Calais Campbell as a guy that's, played for 15 years and is probably on his way to the Hall of Fame. So, there could be worse comparisons. So, as we continue to do this production grade, once you start to see how his numbers, his statistics match up against everyone else and what percentiles he falls into, that's when we'll start to give production grades like that and film grades, athleticism grades, and then an NFL draft projection. I can go ahead and tell you right now, there's literally no chance he goes past the top 10. Zero. Zilch. No chance Rueben Bain Jr. is not drafted in the top 10. I've seen enough. And if you follow people online who talk to scouts and are former personnel people, they'll tell you right there, Rueben Bain Jr. doesn't get out of the top 10. He's probably a top 5 pick. So we'll just have to see on, which teams are ready to draft him pretty early on night one of the draft. All right, so let's take a look at some of these highlights. That's the fun part, right? No volume, because a lot of times these have copyright music. Maybe even the announcers don't want to get a ding. So what we're watching here is 2025 highlights here, and this is him catching the ricochet. So this is the one interception he had in 2025 against Notre Dame. I mean, just a game record. And again, we'll watch some of these where we go back and kind of highlight individual plays and go back and forth and really kind of give it a little closer inspection of what we're seeing. But I mean, it's just fun to watch this dude right here, like from the top, just puts his helmet right into the chest of the tackle and just drives him back. Speed to power for days here. If anybody in the chat has comments or questions, fire them off. This is the fun part. We're watching some of these highlights here. I think at the next level, it'd be interesting to see what sort of fronts he could probably play pretty much anything. But if someone like that plays them, there's not your typical 3-4 teams, maybe Pittsburgh, but other than that, but could he stand? Could he rush? I mean, could he cover? Is he a guy that has some movement skills to back off the edge and drop into a zone? I mean, it's pretty much week after week. He's the one guy. I mean, they had a very talented defensive line. Akeem Messidor is going to be a guy that may flirt with the bottom of round one, although his age, being 25 when the season starts, isn't ideal. But I mean, there's no denying Jason Taylor had these guys like flying off the edge. So whether it was Bain on one side, whether it was the right or the left, and Messidor on the other side, those guys were collapsing pockets, and the defensive tackles were, kind of padding their numbers because quarterbacks had to step up right into their laps. And there it is, complementary football. When your pass rush works, it typically makes the guys on the back end, especially the safeties, look better. Like right here, you just had to get rid of the ball, and he just kind of threw a punt up in the air because he didn't want to take that sack. And it looked like it was Keontae Scott back there for the interception. I mean, just the bend. We're going to show you. We're going to look at a clip here in a second where you really see just the way he bends around the edge. It's not always just right through a guy, but he can take it around the corner. He has a move. Haven't really seen too much of a spin move, but it wouldn't surprise me. And he's able to really give that dead arm and hold the tackle away. And you just see him. When he gets his hands on you, it's over. It's whether you're a running back or a quarterback, the play is dead. You know, there's no getting out of his grasp. Here's on special teams making an impact right there. I mean, for a guy with short arms, he just blocked a field goal. So I mean, his arms are long enough. He gets up there, and maybe the kick was a little low, but you know what? If I were him and someone complained about the my arms, I would show him my stat sheet, and then I would say, "Let me block up the middle from the line of scrimmage." I mean, it wasn't like he came ripping around the end and dove. I mean, he jumped and extended in the air and blocked a field goal. So his arms are clearly long enough. I'd like to thank everyone joining the stream right now. Appreciate you guys. If anyone has any comments or questions, fire them on. We're watching Miami, Florida, edge rusher, interior rusher extraordinaire, Rueben Bain Jr. here on the Sovah Says podcast. It's the Scouting After Dark, or Starting After Hours show. They're going to be using copyright for After Dark, so. For Bengals fans, like you couldn't ask for. I mean, the Trey Hendrickson situation, who knows how that's going to play out. I mean, I think the writing is on the wall that he never suits up for them again. Now, does that mean that he just walks scot-free this offseason? Or is he tagged and traded? Like, what is going to happen? That is one of the biggest questions, if not the biggest question, with Rueben Bain Jr. So, looks like we have come to the end of that video. So, you know, just to kind of put a bow on that point, you know, we're talking about Trey Hendrickson and his future. You know, Myles Murphy, towards the end of last year, the lights came on. He finally got the opportunity that he always needed, that he'd never really received in his first few years in the league and the early portion of this year, or this past year, and really excelled. Was their best defensive lineman the second half of the season by far. One of the most effective pass rush win rates in the entire NFL, I think, over the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season. So not just a guy that was good by the standards of the teammates he was playing with, but a guy that from a league perspective really caught on and was excelling. Now you have Shamar Stewart potentially on the other end. Can he stay healthy? Can he become a finisher? You would still love, if those are the two guys you have, I think you still need a free agent. Joseph Osai is a unrestricted free agent after only signing a 1-year deal last year, so he is free to walk. Depending on what happens in free agency, if they bring in some pass rush help, if there's the Oways of the world, Maffes, if they do get edge help, then obviously, you know, they can afford to look at other positions. But I don't know if Rueben Bain Jr. is there I don't care what you do in free agency, honestly. If at number 10, Rueben Bain Jr. is still there, he is a elite 5-star blue chip, whatever you want to call it. He is an elite prospect with all the potential in the world that you would need at that position. All right, so let's watch some of these videos here. Let's look at some of this all 22. Let's go to advanced select, Twitter. All right, so here's Bain up here. If you can see my cursor, rushing off the edge, almost in like a wide 9 Look, I mean, he's really screaming off the corner here. But watch this play. Watch where he, watch where the right tackle ends up. Oop, on his bum. Let's look at it again here. I mean, one arm, he gets into his chest and then tosses him aside and then almost makes the play. It's going to get a pressure there. You know, there's a hurry. There's a quarterback hit involved. Doesn't get the sack, but gets everything else you need there, and even has a teammate come uh, give that quarterback. But I mean, watch this. One arm out. Now, a lot of this here is, you know, by getting into the chest of the offensive lineman, he sort of staggers him and catches him, you know, a little bit flat footed, a little bit on his toes. So, you know, he didn't have a complete anchor to defend himself against Bain. But still, I mean, that's a 300-pound offensive lineman, and he threw him out the club with one arm. It's a really, really impressive play here. Boom, his shoulder in his chest, and just tosses him aside. One more time. Oof. And then still has the quickness to regroup and try and make a play. All right, let's look at this next clip. Is going to have a few plays on it. There's going to be some plays here of him attacking the run here. This is a All right, so here he is on the opposite side here, lined up against the left tackle. Watch him shoot and take down. This is in the Ohio State game. Watch the speed here. Takes on the guard. Oh, no, okay, this is a different play. So he takes on the guard, throws him aside, and then closes. Let's go back and watch that again. Boom, hits the guard, throws him aside, and then closes and gets the sack. Quarterback looking like Craig Krenzel back there. All right, here is the play against the run. Okay, watch him. He's on the edge, has to take a little bit of a chip early. The tackle tries to get to him, and he really just kind of outruns. Let's go back here. Kind of outruns the ball carrier to the hole with the tackle hanging from him, and muddies up the rushing lane. You know, doesn't make the tackle here. Gets his hand on him while being held, and helps them. You know, his teammates come rally and finish the play. All right, let's go back here. Here he's coming from the left side, right here, loops back around, and gets the sack. Right, so comes from the edge. They run a little game here, a little twist, and two guys meeting at the quarterback at the same time. Probably didn't get any credit for that sack, but if his teammate wasn't there, he definitely is. He's going to make the play here. So just elite athleticism. So they try and like chip him in the beginning. There's a little bit of a block by the tight end, but he actually kind of throws him where he needed to go anyway. And watch what he does to the center here. The center is so lost trying to go out and get him in space. Just sort of gives him like a little quick swim pass. I mean, kind of slaps him away and then makes the tackle. Here he is coming again off the right side. Look at the hand speed there. Boom. Now this is a quick 3-step drop and get rid of it, because if the quarterback holds on to it for another second, it's a wrap. That's a sack there. He is back in the backfield so fast. I mean, that's not a clean block from the tackle. He doesn't even properly get any hands on him. Bain slaps the hands away and catches him, gets him off balance, and just runs right around him. Let's look at his get off. Okay, so pretty wide technique here. And he's just gonna, shoot for that outside shoulder. When his hands go up, they get slapped to the side, and he's moving so quick, and it doesn't slow him down at all. His get off is, it's right on time with everything. Really nice play there. All right, let's go back here because he is coming from the left now. Again, a lot of Ohio State's plan was chip him and to slow him down and let the tackle regroup so you could find him. And then, but look, I mean, he's relentless. Boom, get off me. Boom, get off me. I mean, the quarterback, good coverage in the secondary, obviously, but forces a check that they're waiting for. So this you're getting pressure from both sides, but again, he's beating two men on almost every play we're seeing here. All right, let's see another play here. I believe against the run here. Go back. Let's see. Where's our guy on the field? He is off camera. He'll be coming from the right. Disengages the tackle and comes back to help wrap up the back for a short gain. I mean, defense, man, they just fill their rush lanes so well in the run game. I mean, the running backs are just running into people. All right, here's another pass rush. Now he's back on the left again, off screen. Now watch this tackle trying. He's coming wide, so it's they're going to have to really kick out. I mean, the tackle has to turn his hips. Like there's no way he can backpedal and keep up with Bain here because Bain is literally flying right past him, and he can't. He loses his balance a little bit. Didn't quite have, I mean, still pretty good bend, but just loses his grip here. It's pretty. And there's another play where you see just so much speed. For a guy who's as big and compact as he is, you would think he is more of a strictly speed power guy, and he get most of his wins running right through tackles and through various moves. You're just not seeing that. I mean, you see so much of everything with Rueben Bain Jr. Let's look at this final play here. Okay, watch him dip under this block. Loses his footing there a little bit. Like to see him stay on his feet, but I mean, he's still affecting the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback has happy feet, watching this. Boom, dip. Maybe there was a hold there. Maybe that's why he's falling, but still dip. Effect. Really, really talented rusher, Rueben Bain Jr. All right, one more clip I'd like to show you guys before we kind of wrap up here. This is going to have that one at some. I think it's the second play. It'll have that viral play that I talked about earlier. That is going to remind some people of DJ Reader. And DJ Reader, from a strength standpoint, is a freak of nature. And when you see this guy do the same thing, with, a couple inches shorter, 25 pounds lighter, It's unbelievable. So you get some good spot shadows here to help you follow this play, or to help you follow him on this field. Here's a play against the run in the national title game. Let's go back here. Nope, you're not going to block him there. I mean, I know what they were thinking they wanted to do here. The guard pulling should probably get a hand on him, but that first block by the tight end is completely worthless, and he has the speed to just shoot upfield, and that's a huge loss. Watch this. I mean, slap, get off me, and I'm upfield, and I'm outrunning guys that, I mean, look how fast. The defensive tackle is already in the backfield ready to make the play, and it's like he hits the speed burst button and just gets there for the first contact. Super impressive play. Okay, I think this is where we're going to see. Okay, watch this play here. Boom, drops to a knee, holds him off with one arm, and I mean, are you serious? Did not go down, still makes the tackle. Two guys on him, they drive him down. He holds their body weight up and keeps his eye on the back, wraps him with one arm, makes the tackle. Are you kidding me? What a crazy play. And this is, we saw this with DJ Reader a couple years ago, and I think our jaws were on the floor for the rest of the season. I mean, this is an outstanding play. This shows you that if whatever team drafts him and chooses to use him on the interior to rush him from the inside, if that team runs the ball, he is not a liability on the interior at all. He is strong enough he has a strong enough lower body, and he obviously has strong enough arms because he used his short arm to hold off the offensive guard, or was it? Yeah, the guard and the tackle, and then the other arm he brought down a running back with one arm. Crazy, crazy, crazy play here. All right, here he is on the edge, still in a goal line. Boom. He gets involved on run plays. You're not running past him free. He can be, you think he's blocked, you think he's out of the mix, and he's able to shed and get an arm and most times make the play, but always at least slow them down. And they get a short gain here inside the 10-yard line. All right, here he is on the left side. Has to face a double team here. Boom. What a play against the run. Watch him slip both blocks. Boom. Pushes him away and then has the balance to regroup and then attack. Tremendous play. All right, so that's going to conclude the film portion of this. I think, again, watching this, I think we're seeing a guy that is a blue chip elite prospect, is the number one edge rusher in the draft. Now, there's going to be some debate whether Arvell Reese from Ohio State is that guy. But what's happening with Reese is I think teams are starting to dig a little deeper into what type of player he is. I think some people might actually be more intrigued with him as an off-ball linebacker and a rusher, sort of like the Micah Parsons package that Dallas would use when he wasn't playing defensive line. When he was playing linebacker, he would still rush from the second level and then occasionally come down, like a sort of like that Clay Matthews elephant position sometimes, and rush that way. But I think from strictly a down lineman who can rush from anywhere. You're looking at the best, not only the best edge rusher, but you might be also looking at the best interior rusher in this draft. Now, guys like Peter Woods, who we looked at in our first episode, um, has a lot of pass rush potential. You know, you see flashes, you see some real skill getting after the quarterback. Caleb Banks from Florida, you know, he might be the best pass rushing interior. Now the problem with him is he's coming off injuries and there's some questions about health. But again, Rueben Bain Jr., he is your number one edge rusher. He is your number one pass rusher in this draft, probably from anywhere on the field. So to me, blue chip, top 5 prospect in the entire draft. I would probably put him in the top 3 somewhere. I might, if I had to think about who my top 3 are, I would probably say it's Mendoza, Bain, and Downs. I think those are the 3 best players in the draft. Now, I think there are still other legit blue chip players. Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, Arbel Reese, obviously, talked about him. You know, those are blue chip guys. Those are elite prospects that are top 12 type players. I just don't think Rueben Bain Jr. for the teams that are involved in the top 10 and some of the needs that they have, there's no way he is slipping into the top 10. So there's going to be a lot of fingers crossed for Bengals fans on draft night, hoping that some of these elite, I don't want to say can't miss because God, that's so much pressure. But what they are their prospect level is elite, and what they bring to the table and the potential they have is at the top of the charts. So we've done 3 defensive players so far here. If you want to go back and watch any of those, like I said, we did Peter Woods, Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson, and now Rueben Bain Jr. May shift gears here on our next episode and go to we talk about a guy that if you follow James Rapine on X and YouTube, his YouTube channel, the guy likes weapons. And Makai Lemon, if the draft falls a certain way, where all these elite defenders go early and some of the tackles don't go and are left behind, and Makai Lemon is sitting there, there might be an argument to be made that he's the best player overall when you're looking at your draft board at that point. I know it's got to be defense, and depending on what happens in free agency, you know, that's going to affect a lot of our influence on draft night. So appreciate everyone who came into the stream. Saw a bunch of you guys in there. Feel free to comment on the video. I'll get to any questions you have when we're live. I'd love to hear some of your guys' thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It super helps to smash that like button. And if you're not a subscriber and you're watching this now live, or you're watching this after it posts on YouTube, because it will live on there forever, give it a subscribe. We're going to be doing Bengals content. We're going to be doing draft content, you know, up into the draft through the season. It's year round. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys later.